بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله.
So we'll reconvene for our college discussion. So if I may ask our panelists to please come up to the stage.
Introduce yourself to Grandman?
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, my name is Ahmed Warfa. I'm a recent graduate from the Harvard Kennedy School, and I'm here as part of the college discussion. And we're here to promote education and to allow young people the opportunity to ask us how to be successful college applicants, as well as if we can provide any advice that we have towards them on our journey and our path and what we needed to do to get to where we are today. And this is the second part. We had a few questions up before for the panel, and I see we have a lot of new audience members, so I think it might be wise to have the panelists reintroduce themselves. Let's start with the ladies.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Fatima Mohammed. I am a first year at State University, and I'm studying international affairs and political science.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Amina Mohammed. I am a student at Tufts University, and I'm studying biology on the pre-med track.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Halim Saadia. I am a freshman at Brandeis University, and I am currently studying international business and international global studies.
Yes.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Ayub Sharif. I'm a freshman at Dartmouth College right now, currently studying mechanical engineering.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Fatah Aden. I'm a freshman at Harvard University, and I'm studying electrical engineering.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Mubarak Mahmoud. I'm going to MIT right now, my third year electrical engineering and computer science.
Thank you all. And I guess the format is I would ask a few questions, and we'll open up the panel for discussion from the parents or from especially high school students. So the first question I would ask is there anything you wish you knew before starting college? It's open, it's free for all.
One thing that I wish I knew more about is how to find classes and search for classes. Because when I came, it was basically limited. I just took like calculus. I took introduction to Spanish. But after a few weeks, I found out that they offered Somali at Harvard. And then just knowing that is like, I wish I knew more. So then I could have pursued that. So next semester, hopefully, I'm going to take a class with one of the professors they have. So just knowing more about the resources they have, I wish I knew more about that before I started.
Something that I wish I knew starting college is just generally how to study. I think studying in high school is different.
Just come all of this way. Give to someone, everyone. Yeah.
What's the difference?
Oh, can I have to share grants? Because yeah, that's a good idea.
Wait, what is that?
Yeah. Because I don't hear anything, sort of like. So besides cutting, come everybody share grants.
Here, take this one.
Thank you.
Go around that. No, it's okay. Hello? Is it on? Is it on? Yeah. This is what you talk to. Hello? No, it's not.
1, 2.
Okay, I'll start again. So something that I wish I knew going into college is how to study. I think studying techniques are different when you're in high school than when you're in college. High school is more about memorization and trying to remember as much as you can, and then college is more about like analyzing the info that you're given and trying to like really understand it at different levels, because like the exams are different. So I think kind of adjusting to that was the hardest part about college. So I wish going into it I would already kind of been exposed to that.
I also want to piggyback on what Fatah said. Finding resources was hard for me first year because actually this fall, because I wasn't able to, enroll in some programs that was able to help me have tutors and people from outside of the classroom so that I can actually, because I'm coming from a Boston public school, so that I can actually be in the same level of these people that went to private schools. So finding resources was really hard.
You gonna add something?
My computer science professor told us, our class, that one thing that separates college from high school is this illusion of time. Like, yeah, you think you have all the time in the world because you have these classes, you have like 1 or 2 classes, and that's all you have for the day. You don't have like 8 hours of instruction and classwork, so you really have so much independence, and it's what you make of it. So you really have to do what you need to do to get your job done, and interact with people, extracurriculars. So it's all on you. That's what I learned from, that's what I wish I learned before college.
So another question would be, what resources outside class would you say were crucial towards preparing you for college, be it the application or be it finding the right people to talk to?
So there are 2 things I want to mention. One of them is people. People are like there to help you. There are like always professors, TAs, or TFs wherever you are. So those people are there to help you. So what you gotta do is like you gotta go to them, ask them questions whenever you don't understand something. There's no one is going to charge you for not knowing anything because you are there to learn. So ask questions and talk to people. The second one is like try to explore your resources as much as you can in the beginning, especially like if you need like some help for a class or something, like how do you get like a good reading, like what library do you need to go, like where are the resources. So learning about the resources and where they are really crucial for college, and no one is going to like take you and show you around, so you have to like go on and find them out.
For me, before the college process, I had a lot of mentors and people who were older than me that went through the process before me. Even like in my family, I'm the youngest, and they all went through the process before me. Closer? Yeah, they all went through the process before me, so it was easier for me because I could go to them for guidance on things that I didn't.
Wrote a recommendation for me, and I feel like if you find one person that that has this life together, sort of, everybody's doesn't have their life together, but if you see somebody that's already well off and successful, I think that person will be the person to help you as mostly as you need to be helped with.
Okay, so another question would be, what are the main challenges spiritually and socially that you have faced so far? Is it hard or easy being a practicing Muslim or even a gentleman or lady of color? So how so? If you're the most excited.
That was, I think, like one of the hardest things was finding people who in a way understood you in multiple different aspects of your life. For me, like I was by myself a lot of times because I felt like I wasn't going to be able to find any of those people who because most of my school is like majority white people, and all my classes many times I was the only student of color in those classes, so I couldn't find, like a lot of times people say use the classrooms, but I couldn't do it in the classrooms, and so it was just about I specifically looked for like organizations and cultural organizations such as like the Black Student Association and the Muslim Student Association, and then we have a Somali Student Association in my school. So for me, it was finding those clubs and then going to those meetings every week was how I was able to spiritually and socially be.
That's a really brilliant question. Considering that we're like us three, we're Somali, like we're Black Muslim women, like that's something you're not going to see often on college campuses. It's like they're very white spaces. So going into college, it's like the hardest thing is like knowing that you're not the same as other people. And so like what she said, like finding kind of the right places, like the Black Student Association, the Muslim Student Association, and then like our school doesn't have a Somali Student Association, but I did go to Northeastern for theirs, and like kind of finding people that look like you is very like it makes you like, you're not like, oh, I'm always like the outsider, then you're always finding people that look like you so you can fit in with them. And then especially like it gets harder at times, especially after like the Paris attacks, where every eye is on you. So like how do you kind of like find your way around that? I think the best way to do that is kind of talking to kind of other people that are going through the same things as you, and like finding yourself in the places where kind of like your feelings are affirmed, and kind of you can openly talk about how you feel without feeling like, oh, these people don't understand what I'm going through. So I think kind of being vocal about what you're going through and finding people that look like you are two of the most kind of like the best advice I could give someone who's kind of like doesn't feel like they're fitting in very well.
So as a female, being away from home and, having responsibilities yourself, having to pray 5 times a day, having to wake up in the morning for Fajr, even though your roommate's sleeping and, you have the alarm on, she might be annoyed or he might be annoyed, but you still have to do those things. Those were the things that I struggled with in the first semester. I also struggled with, having my roommate understand the beliefs and the things that I need to do as a Muslim. And also because my school is mostly predominantly Jews, I also had to, I'm a Muslim and I don't have to be the way that you guys want me to be, and if the Salah is during one certain time, I'm gonna have to find a way to change my schedule, to change my classes, because that's one thing that's really good about college, because you're able to make your own schedule. And if you make your own schedule based on, your salah and the prayers, and you remember God, alhamdulillah, inshallah, God willing, that you'll find your success and you'll do well in school.
Going to a predominantly white institution, it's hard to be Black and Muslim because a lot of the people there don't accept differences. But I feel like just embracing your identity and knowing who you are and just showing the world who you are is great. Just like they were talking about the clubs that you joined. I'm a part of the National Society of Black Engineers, the Men of Color Alliance, and like the Muslim Student Association. And I feel like at these clubs, they really helped me not only like get familiar with the culture at the schools, but also like they understand what you're going through also as minorities. And because of this, they just want you to succeed just as much as they do themselves. And I feel like it's good to find those types of people because they understand you and they want the best for you.
Yeah, so just like it's exactly as everyone else has been saying, they have those spaces in college where you can go and find like the Muslims, you can find the Blacks, you can find Somalis at Northeastern, which is very like lucky. Like there's not a lot of Somalis everywhere, so like we don't have a Somali Student Association. However, just going to college, I didn't expect to find such a strong Islamic like presence at Harvard, but there is. And they have the first. It was the first Islamic association for colleges. That's why it's Islamic Student Association or something. And then they also have a lot of other cultural organizations you can join. Like it's a much different world from Boston, from being around a lot of Somalis, from being around a lot of Black people. Once you go into college, it's a totally different experience because it's predominantly white and predominantly Christian, predominantly like Catholic or whatever. They're all different from us. So going there is like a different place. But then if you just search, if you find for what you want to, if you look for what you want to find, you'll find it. And it's pretty at Harvard. It was pretty easy finding those places.
For me, like coming from Somalia, I guess college was easier in terms of culture than I was expecting, because I wasn't expecting to see like Muslim people or like Black people or like nice people or anything. Like I thought like everyone will just be drinking and like being white, and it's like I have to just lock myself when I have to pray. But it's really not that. Like all you have to do is just like explore, like find the people you connect with who are like similar to you, who like have the same interests. Like there are Muslims everywhere. Any school you go to, there are like Muslims. Even if they don't have organizations, you are the person to like start the organization and start the community. If they have Somali Student Association, you gotta start it. So the thing is like the schools are like willing to accommodate anything you want, as long as you have the right circumstances, like people especially. So like all you gotta do is like find them, and you will never walk alone.
Thank you all. So one more question would be, I guess this is a general question before we open up the floor for discussion. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years, and who or what do you think is going to help you to get there? Thank you.
I'll be graduating. I'm graduating.
Okay, so in the next 5 years, so I can't predict the future, but inshallah, what I'm planning is kind of like thinking about going into medical school, if that works out, inshallah. So yeah, probably will be in medical school, probably working on the side. And I think getting there is going to kind of like echo off exactly what I was saying before. It's going to take a lot of support from kind of the people that are already in my life, the Somali community, my friends right here, and a lot of people in the audience. So I think kind of my parents, the Somali community, the kind of like the programs that I've already mentioned, like kind of being in those and finding those right spaces and like taking the best advantage out of that is going to kind of help me kind of, you know, pave the way for my future, inshallah.
Always put you on the spot. I know, right?
One person I would totally, definitely, you know, consider helping me in this process would be my mentor. In the next 5 years, inshallah, I would like to graduate from undergrad and then probably apply for grad school if that happens. Inshallah, I hope so.
Inshallah, in the next 5 years, I'll be graduating because I am in a 5-year program. And so at Northeastern, like a lot of us, like the Boston public school students and other students, we have a scholarship, and in the scholarship, we have a scholarship office. And it has like a legacy and like a history of a lot of students who've graduated from as those scholars and have went on to do a lot of different things in the world. And I met a couple of them who kind of had like the same exact thoughts that I have at the moment about being in political science and being in international affairs, and who are now like on their process of applying to law school. So I hope that we can continue like the mentoring relationship that we've developed.
Yeah, it's the one who's leaving, right? So right now I'm in my 3rd year in college. So like there are 2 plans I have in mind. One of them is continuing college for like 1 or 2 more years after I graduate from undergrad. So other than that, what I'm thinking of is staying in the U.S. for about 3 to 4 years, working somewhere to make some money and some connections. I'm not from the U.S., I'm not a U.S. citizen, so my final plan is to go back to Somalia and start companies and organizations. So what I want to start are I wasn't expecting that. so what I want to start is I'm a computer science and electrical engineering hobbyist. So what I want to start is in electrical engineering and computer science companies. But mainly what I want to my goal is to introduce and impose and expose to young people in Somalia and in Ethiopia to technology, because like the world is moving on. Like our all life is not going to stay around. We are not going to survive in that. But the main difficulty is like people don't even know how to search anything in Google. So what I am thinking of starting is like giant laboratories and libraries where young people come and explore, like learn how to code, learn how to play around with electronics and equipment and build circuits and like play around with them. Because like there are people with like amazing curiosity in their country. Like for example, like for recently, I found this video on Facebook. This like there's a like kid in like some rural place. He's building like cars and airplanes and stuff from scratch. It's really amazing. I have met like so many people with like that will amaze you, but they just don't have the resources. So what I am trying to do in the future is like just make them easier for them to do that. Inshallah.
I'm in my first year at Harvard, and I plan on studying electrical engineering. So hopefully, after 5 years, I'm going to be practicing engineering, working for a company here in Boston. Hopefully, inshallah, and that way I can take care of my family and just stay at home and do what I love. So, engineering.
Sorry. I'm also studying engineering, so hopefully, inshallah, in 5 years, I'll have a job coming out of college. And once I get this job, I'll be able to help the younger generation, inspire them, hopefully, be a mentor, and also be mentored. But also, I want to like bring my community up too. I don't want to be the only one just like succeeding. I want my community to succeed as well, and just hopefully getting ready to grad school and just living life.
Thank you all. This is very inspirational. Okay. So just to wrap up, we would open the floor for a couple of questions from either high school or parents of children in high school. So let's start here. I'll come to you next.
First and foremost, I'd like to thank you for coming here and being motivational and inspiration to the youth here. MashaAllah, you all right. Political science, international relations, and I know some of you, like Fatah and Sharif's son, and their parents, but I want to ask you a question. The question I'm asking is like, the situation now today in the Muslim community in America, how it feels like being a Muslim student at this critical situation in America, not harm, physical harm, but seeing all this negativity about Muslims, and have someone encounter with you at the conference? If so, what was your response? And if not, if it happens, how would you respond? Thank you.
All right, so the question is, how does it feel, or what are your experiences being a college student in this climate of rising Islamophobia, and what resources do you think would help you in this climate?
What I would say is, we all know about what is going on. So the thing is like, you have to expect what is going to happen. And they usually happen. You see people like saying things and like don't pay attention that you are the person they are talking about, like saying like all Muslims are terrorists and stuff, and like not just really paying attention that you are like one of them. So the thing is like you have to be expecting that because you know already what's happening. So a lot of that happiness, and like you just have to try to explain to them like why that is not just a common belief for Muslims, why that is really just not the truth. So I met a lot of people. One of them is like was actually a Facebook friend who like just shares this like list of things that like Muslims do that are like really horrible, but like most of them are not true. Some of them are kind of true, but like most of them are not actually from religion, they are from culture. So I had to just like take the time, get off of work and explain to them why this is not the religion, this is just mostly culture and things that people misunderstood or even twisted them to look like bad when they are not really bad. So like you just gotta be prepared at all times and be aware of what is happening around you.
I haven't really experienced anything personally at Harvard of students like portraying this Islamophobia. However, I wish there would be more like activism on the part of non-Muslims at the like college. There are a lot of like Muslims that are like fighting back against Islamophobia, but there are other individuals who are like they agree with you and believe that Muslims are not terrorists and all this, but however they don't take action and they just sit back and let everything just continue. So I wish there was more activism and more like promotion at Harvard for like against Islamophobia.
I also haven't faced anything personally regarding Islamophobia, but knowing the fact that there are people there that don't want you to be there and that they exist and that people who like endorse Islamophobia exist, it's troubling and it's hard because like it's just that's your personal identity. And I feel like though those people exist, there are also those people who support you, and there are also those people such as people in the Muslim Student Association who want you to succeed and who are there for you if you need anything. And I feel like just staying with that group of people, being with the best people that you could be with, people that support you and people who want the best for you is great. And also just being with your faith, increase your faith, increase your iman, because like these people can't break you, can only make you stronger.
Like, I also haven't had, thank God, like a personal experience with it, but like in one of my classes, we were having a conversation about like Syrian refugees, like right after the Paris attacks, and somebody in class made a lot of like hurtful comments, and what like my professor did was like amazing things that we kind of like stopped the class and just had a discussion about it. And I think like having discussions with people and also like finding the places in your like spaces, because our school, we have like a center for spirituality and dialogue where whenever anything happens, like we as a community come together and we have these important conversations that need to be had. And I think just like having those conversations together and always like finding your community and staying with your community is important.
Okay, so to kind of reframe the question, I don't think Islamophobia is something that's new, especially for us three being visible Muslims, where we deal with Islamophobia and like at different levels. We've been dealing with it forever, and it's not something that's new after the Paris attacks or after the Syrian refugee crisis. So I think kind of like we deal with like microaggressions, kind of like small attacks on us, and like at different kind of like amounts. It's not always like physical attacks. Sometimes it's like small anonymous comments on our like yuk yak online, like at our school after the Paris attacks. People were making comments online saying, oh, like drive these Muslims out of the country, and kind of like these hurtful kind of attacks, but they're not doing it face to face. And then I also deal with kind of like other things about like my hijab as a hijabi Muslim at college, right? People are always telling me that, oh, the only reason you're here is because you're a hijabi and they need affirmative action, not because like, you know, I deserve to be there. So they kind of like try to invalidate kind of your reasoning for being there so that they can make themselves feel better. So so like kind of like Islamophobia is something we deal with all the time, and I think over time we kind of build our own response to it. So for me personally, it's just kind of like understanding that, facing like these troubles is kind of like a, like it's things you're gonna deal with, especially as being a Muslim woman, and kind of like dealing with that affirms my status as a Muslim person. So I think at the end of the day, kind of like increases my faith, as Ayub was saying, kind of like always returning back to God and like understanding that you're dealing with these things for a reason it's written. So I think just generally, as Fatuma said, finding people that are going through similar, like I've been saying this for almost all the questions, but like finding people that are going through similar experiences as you are, I think that can be like the best response for anything. So like if you're going through something great or something bad happens to you, always finding the right people to talk to, I think that's going to be like almost the best way to respond to something, always.
Do you hold it like this? Yeah, okay. Hello. For me, I go to Brandeis University, and it's predominantly Jews. My roommate is a Jew, and for me, it was constantly having to explain myself, who I am, what are my beliefs, and what I'm doing there. One time we had a conversation in which she flat out said, it's the reason why, something reason why your people killed my people, speaking about how first of all, she's not from Israel, so she was like, oh, my people from Israel, they're being harmed and things like that, and Muslims are the problem. And having to even think about the thought of having a conversation with somebody that you live with was one of the most difficult thing I had to deal with at college. But alhamdulillah, I was able to calm down and sit, find a CA or whatever, and then we had a conversation, and where it was more like, okay, first of all, I'm not from Palestine, but I am a Muslim. I don't agree and I don't condone what's happening over there. Not one person is at fault. There are many people that are at fault. And when we had this conversation, she actually kind of respected who I was and respected the person that I am and the beliefs that I have. And for us, we have to remember that we don't always have to explain ourselves. I wear the hijab because I want to wear the hijab. Just because she doesn't want to wear it doesn't mean I have to say, oh, why aren't you wearing a hijab? So if we're not asking them questions about their religion and their beliefs, why do we have to answer questions about ourselves? So what we have to do is, one thing that we have to do is come together as a whole. We're all here. When do you see 3 females and 3 males over here on the stage like this? Also, the parents, we are so proud of you guys. You're here for us and you're supporting us. And if without your help, we wouldn't be here in the way that we are. And I'm so glad for the Muslim community, especially the Somali community. We're going in the right direction. Thank you so much.
That was a nice closing. I'm not gonna lie.
Thank you very much. It's very inspirational. And we have one more question. Could you hold the mic?
So I have 2 questions. One question is, in high school, you had the idea of college motivating you to succeed, but what motivates you now that you're in college? And my other question is, what would you like to say to the young students and parents that are preparing to have a talk about dorming? Because, in this Muslim community, or especially in the Somali community, we have this thing where it's like, if you're not married as a young woman, you have to stay in your parents' house. So what would you like to share with most of you guys for?
Questions were, one is, when you were in high school, you had the motivation to succeed as the driving factor. But now that you are in college, what motivates you to be the best you can? The second question is, actually, let's start with that first question first.
Oh, I just got so nervous. Okay. About this one. I know.
So what motivates me is that I look at people who are in power and people who are making policies for me and for people who look like me, and those people have never experienced anything that I've experienced or the people like my people have experienced. So knowing that there are just people out there just making all these policies that God knows where they came from is what motivates me. So I want to be in a position in power where I can make a difference for people who are being marginalized by systems of oppression.
So for me, kind of, well, success was never about, like, wasn't a destination. It was always a journey. So, like, kind of my idea never shifted when I got to college, because it doesn't end at college. It's like it's continuous. It's going on even after college, even after medical school, or whatever the future holds for me. So I think kind of the way I view success is not about, oh, a destination that I need to reach right now, or like in 4 or 5 years. It's more about, you know, kind of like, am I growing as a person? Am I learning from the experiences that I'm like going through every day, right? So I think just generally that's been kind of the reason, kind of like the reason why I'm still going and like motivating me right now is like knowing that there's still more to go regardless of how far we've made it.
For me, I kind of view, I don't know if it's wrong, but I kind of view college as in high school, where you still have to get the right grades, you still have to do activities, you still have to commute, you know, help your community and things like that. That's going to help me, you know, try to get to grad school, because as, you know, getting an undergrad, I don't think it's that of a great thing. Maybe, you know, aiming for a graduation degree would be better. That's what I'm doing right now, just focusing on my grades, focusing on the things that I love, and trying to learn, you know, while I'm at it. And also, you know, prayer and things like that is important, because it's not, maybe we are kind of focused more on education, but there's all types of aspects in education. What we have to do is, like, you know, yes, we're gonna learn, but you also have to know, in order to succeed, you have to respect and follow the rules of Allah, and prayer is one of the most important things, which is what we, you know, mostly struggle with. But inshallah, in our, you know, the reason why we need to succeed is because God told us to, you know, pray and iqra, read, and be educated. So that's what I'm trying to aim for. Nice.
For me, I always viewed college as like the opportunity to be successful, and the pathway to success doesn't end there, because I still haven't gotten a job, I still haven't given back to my community, and I still haven't done well for my family. And until I do that, I can't even talk about what motivates me, because all these things motivate me.
Yeah, it's the same exact thing that Amina was saying. It's not a destination, it's a journey. And just because I got into college doesn't mean I'm done with it or got through it. So I feel I must continue, and I must work harder in order to provide for my family. And that's what it's all about for me, just giving back to Hoya and Ava, you know. That's it, and it's not done yet. This is just the start, honestly.
I think it's the same for everyone. Just like you had like dream schools in your high school, dream colleges you want to go into and study at. In college, you have dream jobs, dream companies you want to work for or you want to start. So that is like, it's pretty much like, it is pretty, you can like draw the same analogy. It's just like the goal just changes, but it is just a transition from one phase of life to another. So you probably are not thinking about like what would you be doing after college right now, but like as soon as you get there and you appreciate what you are learning, if you like it, then you will suddenly think about like, man, I want to be that guy, I want to start that, and I want to like, I want to work on that. So then the goal never ends. If there is no ambition in life, then like you would not even live, I guess.
Thank you. And the second part of the question was, how do you bring up the topic of dorming to your parents?
I think that there's something that you get out of being in the dorm, especially your first year, that you wouldn't be able to get if you had to like always like if you kind of like had a curfew or you just had to go back home, like we all emphasized a lot of things about like resources and being able to find where the resources are. And I think like if I went back and I never dormed my first year or like last semester, I would never been able to find where those resources are, because like because after you finish class or after you finish your work, you would go straight home. You wouldn't think about like, oh yeah, there's like these after school clubs that you have to go to. And I think just like, especially for just like the parents and the moms and like just like the dads out there, just like understand that you taught your kids and that you've raised them up to this point. So just like understand that what you taught them is what they'll take with them, that they're not just gonna throw it out there. Yeah.
So I'm gonna go like, it's exactly what she said about, you know, like you raise your children to be a certain way, right? You teach them certain things, and I kind of think at one point it's gonna come to like, whether do you trust kind of how you raise your kids to be? Do you trust them enough to kind of, you know, like do what you taught them to do? And like, so like if you keep babying them and like say, oh, you can't dorm because, you know, I don't, like, it's like all a matter of trust. Like, do you trust them enough? And also like, don't, like for parents specifically, don't let kind of the, like not you allowing them to dorm be the reason why they don't apply to certain schools like outside of the state. I think that's a mistake that I did. I didn't apply anywhere outside of the state, or like mostly out of Boston, I think. And like you miss a lot of opportunities. Obviously, if like your student's going to somewhere like Dartmouth, right? You're not gonna pack up and take the whole family just so you can avoid dorming, right? So like I think trusting them so that, like, you know, that they are doing what you taught them when they're in college campuses, and also don't let you be the reason why they miss out on a lot of opportunities. Like Fatuma said, there's a lot of extracurriculars and a lot of after-school activities that you really don't get to participate in because you're not dorming, or like not because because you're worried about getting back home, especially during the winters when it gets dark outside. You don't want to be on the train; it's really dangerous. So I think you miss out on a lot, especially as a first year, because you're just now adjusting to it. So I just think don't be the reason why your child gets left behind. Like, no child.
Yeah.
For me, I also dorm. The topic, bringing up the topic to my mother was very difficult. But I feel like the 3 months that I've been at Brandeis, I've learned a lot. I've learned to be independent. I've learned that even if my mom is not around, I am, God is still there. You still have to pray. You still have to do the things that you did at home. Although you're not home all the time, you're not with your siblings all the time, what you do there is going to benefit them in the future.
I mean, I could just really put some
I feel like there's a lot to learn from being in a dorm, and it really prepares you for the real world and this independent aspect that Sadia was talking about. Also, that she was talking about. Also, there are people out there who don't know how to interact with people from other cultures, even some people who don't even know how to do their laundry. And these are lessons that you learn in a dorm room, lessons that you need to learn for the real world. And I feel like that's why it's really important to dorm, because you learn these lessons that you don't really learn if you just commuted to school every day. Because that was what just like high school is for. College should be a difference, and that's what one of them are.
You want to go? Yeah, he said. Another thing that I find is really important about a dorm is the coursework in college is much different than in high school. In high school, I was able to go home with about 7 kids and do my homework and stay focused on all that, but it's much different with all the classes and the homework and all that. I think finding that study space is much easier when you're always on campus and you can go to a library or you can go back to your room or you can switch places. If you're living at home, the only place you'll have really is just your home. So I think that's one benefit of having the dorm is it makes it much easier for you to really be committed on your academics and your work.
It's the same thing. There's so much to learn from being in the dorm, especially being in campus. Because, for example, I go to MIT, pretty much my social activities is we sit somewhere in the dorm and we talk about what we learn and discuss and argue about them, and that is the best way to learn it. So if you keep your daughter at your home, she's not getting that. And since your daughter is probably gonna be at least 15, she's mature, so you have to trust her. And trusting someone is respecting them, which is really important.
Thank you all. I want to take the time to thank our panelists for taking their time, for their patience, and for the inspiring words. The panelists are part of your community, so please feel free to reach out to them, to ask more questions, to network with them, and to ask, how they got to be where they are today. Thank you very much.